It's time for Community Matters, a service of TCB Broadcasting, and it's sponsored by Vidalia Federal in Lyons and Vidalia, Todd Paget Housing Center in Claxton. Now let's see what's happening in our community with host Tony Doc Wardlaw.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to this edition of Community Matters. I'm your host, the Doc, and we are here this morning. I missed you all on last week. The Doc was away. I was in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. But I'm back this week, and it's another beautiful Wednesday morning, as we always say. And I'm glad to have you with us on this morning. We are here, and we've got a good show for you this morning. If you got the Toombs County Magazine recently, you saw an article in there, and I asked this gentleman to come on the show, and if he told me no, I was going to put him in a bear hug, give him a nookie like I used to. It's none other than the one and the only, the man, the myth, the man that wears many hats, Mr. Martin Luther Wardlaw Sr. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
You remember those nookies I used to give you?
I do not. I don't remember not one.
Well, I can understand why. I would often leave you where you couldn't remember things.
Wow.
Well, I wanted to bring you on the show because, so many times we will have a tendency to see the actions of those who are close to us and just maybe take it for granted. But here on Community Matters, we don't do that. We try to interview everybody who's doing positive things in our community. And I have to admit that I was touched by your article, especially considering the things that you're doing in terms of the ministry. So this morning I really want to kind of talk about your ministry, Reil Worldwide, and let's talk about its inception and how it came to be.
The Reil Worldwide is a nonprofit organization, based here, and is as a result of all of the knowing different things that took place with other people in the prison ministry. It deals with those who are formerly incarcerated, and it deals with children of incarcerated parents. And both are on the rise all around the United States of America and abroad. We try to provide or work to provide services for both of them, for the formerly incarcerated and for children of incarcerated parents. So for those who are formerly incarcerated, you have housing, employment, identification, health insurance, some things that might be simple to us is a big deal for them. So,
well, it happens to be a subject that I know a little bit about. They don't call me the doc for nothing.
Right.
I actually have a doctorate in organizational leadership, and I wrote my dissertation on the employability of those persons who were previously incarcerated.
Right.
And so I had to do a lot of research on the barriers of those persons who are returning to society. And I can imagine that their children are having to suffer through those same needs. So with your program, how successful has it been? And can you give us some examples of some of those success stories?
Well, if you're talking to me, I would say very successful. We would like to be able to say that everyone who has come in our program has
turned their lives completely around, and we're 100%. That would not be true. We actually we've lost 3, out of the little more than 30 that have come to us. 3 have returned to have gone back to prison for one reason or another.
Wow.
So I would say still, you don't want to lose any. You certainly don't want them to be able to come out of prison and then go back. You don't want that. That's a recidivism rate. Our recidivism rate in Georgia is pretty high. It's been upward 40%.
Oh, wow.
Here with our program, we have only 3 going back. Some would say, oh, that's great. But I just, I wish it was none.
Right.
And I wish I was able to say that. We had one that started out in, with GED, got close and could not, got really close to passing the math part. He kept getting close, but couldn't quite get it. He was miss it by 1 point, miss it by 2 points, became discouraged, and next thing we knew, he was incarcerated again. And
oh, wow.
So those stories, just kind of bother you. But we've been pretty successful. We deal with situations where mental health is a big issue in several, because we have some who been in prison for, let's just say been in prison for 10 years, and they on a psychotropic medication. And whenever you're in prison, you have a pill call, and they go in and take the medicine, and they don't have to pay anything. The state is paying for it. And they're getting their pill call, and they take it every morning. But then whenever they are released from prison, there is no pill call, and there is no health insurance. There is no psychotropic medication. So whatever they're dealing with, whether it's schizophrenia, whether it's personality disorders, or whatever it is, manic depressive, whatever they're dealing with, then they get out with that, and they're walking around with it with no job, no home, no finances, and a mental health issue that needs to be addressed.
Wow.
And, and sadly, we don't really have anything in place to just address that issue right away. Everybody's still trying to figure it out.
So tell us, how does Reil Worldwide, how does your program work? First of all, how long has it been in existence?
Well, it came about at the end of 2019. So in November of 2019, started working in Reil and garnering partnerships, with employers and with the prison systems and wardens and things like that. So I would get a phone call from one of the caseworkers in the prison, and they'll tell me that this person is coming and they need help with this or that. So that's pretty much where our referrals come from. Some are parental. The parents are mostly, mothers. I literally have not had one father to call me and say, my son is getting out of prison, my daughter's getting out of prison. It's always been,
your mom's going to stay right there with them babies.
It's always been mom. Mom would call and say, he's going to be getting out. And I had one mother call me. It was a whole year in advance. He's going to be out in March of 2023. I'm thinking it's 2022. I'm like, look, I'm going to get back to you later, But, she called. But because of that.
It's planning ahead.
Because of that, I was able to, make some things, work on some things throughout that year. And whenever he was released into a situation. He's working a full-time job. He's got a home, and
wow.
He's on the track to, he's doing very, very well. And that, I think that makes a difference. The earlier we can start working, the better. It's a whole lot better than what we got last week. Was what a state called me and said, "Hey, we got 2 guys in your area and they homeless. What can you do?"
Wow.
In those situations, it becomes very challenging.
When you say the state called you, can you share with us? Can you be a little bit more specific?
Well, they have different programs, in the state. with the Department of Community Supervision. So I have a friend in Macon and Warner Robins area who covers this area, and he just kind of let me know that he had 2 gentlemen that was in this area that needed some help. So
With the housing crisis really in this area, we have just in general housing needs. So how successful have you been in putting your participants in housing?
in this area, we've been able to house 7, but throughout the different counties that we work with in Georgia, we've been responsible or in affiliation with others to house 23.
Wow.
And we're very, very happy about that. You know, it's a big thing. If you can imagine coming out of, it'd be hard to imagine coming out of prison, I understand, but to be able to come out of anything and you have to find employment and you have to find housing by a certain time, or else, you know, you have a parole officer or a probation officer telling you, all right, now you mentioned the housing crisis. And there is one, even for, you know, hardworking people. It's you know, maintaining housing is a big deal, man.
Okay.
But now, if you are now released from prison and you don't have any finances, you know, you're trying to find work and you're trying to find a place to stay, but you have a felony, so you can't. You know, your credit is not where it needs to be able to just go rent a place. Even if your credit is good, you don't have the finances to pay a deposit, first month's rent, and sometimes it would last month's rent. So this becomes a major issue. But then you have your probation officer or parole officer saying, well, if you don't find a house by Thursday, I'm going to violate you. And you're going to be back in front of the judge. I mean, it's, you know, they have a job to do. They have a job to do, and they're trying to push, you know, and push and make sure you do what you're supposed to do. But I just feel like we need to have, you know, a route to do that. So what we've done is we've partnered with landlords, we've partnered with individuals who have certain properties, and we've been able to ask them to, hey, look, we're going to work with them if you'll waive the deposit. And he's finally working now. We'll put him on a payment plan, and we'll build up to this. And we just had somebody to allow a gentleman to move into an apartment that, you know, he didn't have the deposit. And this particular lease had the deposit, first month's rent, and last month's rent. So, you know, it's $2,100 just to move in.
Oh, my goodness.
But we were able to, you know, get him. He waived the deposit. He waived the last month's rent up front. And then this gentleman was able to, you know, pay a certain amount plus a little bit, and that would go toward the deposit and all this. So you work with relationships like that. And then this gentleman he leaned over on me, over 50 years old. He leaned over on me and cried. I'm like, hey, look, man, you can't cry on me like that.
Wow.
You can't do that, because I'll get all messed up. And you know, but we're thankful that happened. So, you know, we just keep pushing and try to keep, you know, and people have their own ideas. People have their, you know, we can be pretty judgmental sometimes, and they have their own thoughts and ideas about individuals who've gone to prison and gotten out, and that's fine. You know, they've done wrong or whatever, all that's fine. The one thing that I look at, regardless of how you look at it, you have individuals who are getting out of prison and coming here.
Wow.
What are you going to do?
Wow.
You got to have somewhere to go
with it. Got to deal
or
with
it. Or else someone is going to get hurt in some kind of way. The only way you go back to prison is you've got to have a victim. So, you know, they're going to go back, and somebody's going to get hurt in some way, whether something is taken from them. You know, we have to do something.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Mr. Martin Luther Wardlaw, Sr., who is right here from Toombs County, born and raised.
Born and reared.
Well, don't ask me how I know that.
Yeah.
Went to school here at Toombs County High.
Toombs County High School. I was in the Red Coat marching band. Once a red coat, always a red coat. Go Dogs.
And but you left here and went how far away? 30 minutes.
I went 30 minutes away. I went to it was a big metropolitan area of Mount Vernon, Georgia.
Wow.
Broome Parker College University.
Okay. Go Barons.
Yeah. Yep. And I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot right there at BPC, and I was happy to be able to stay connected to home.
Wow. And so it sounds like it only makes sense then that you would do. I want to ask you still, though, why here? Now, when we look on your website, we see that you have an office in Miami, Nashville, Tennessee, Miami, Florida, Nashville, Tennessee, and Lyons, Georgia. Okay, why?
That's home. You can, there's so many different scriptures, about that. Why try to go off and save the whole world? I'm right here at home. We have issues. I mean, you could throw a rock and hit somebody who needs some help. And if you have tools, then you want to use them right here at home. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. Even with the stuff that I do in entertainment, I try to, if it's a film that needs to be filmed, I'm vying for it to come here in Toombs County because, I'm a part of Community Meeting Action, and last night we were over at the county seat where we gave some scholarships away to some graduates. And one of the things that I told them, I said, we're happy that you're going off. We have one that's going to Berry College and one that's going to East Georgia and moving on. And I said, well, if it's all possible, once you get your degree, come back and help, build Toombs County. Don't just, take all the knowledge and everything that you learn and go other places and build other places. You got to take care of home, and that works even as a father with children. I mean, if I was not pouring into my own, going off and pouring everywhere else and lose my own home, that's not. Yeah. I don't think that's.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and that makes sense. And we know of the saying, charity begins at home. But when you talk about scriptures in particular, well, let me just say this. The other night I was at the end of the year banquet for the Lions Club, and the upcoming president, the new president for this year, Pastor Christian Burton, talked about him moving into this area and it being one of the best areas, better communities that he's ever lived in his life, right? And so I was sitting there listening to that, but there's also another scripture, and I just want to ask you about this before we go to break. There's a scripture in the Bible that specifically says that a prophet is with honor except in his own home, his own hometown.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with that? I mean, I understand, and I'm hearing your philosophy about coming home. And we've had several people on the show who are from this area, and, of course, yours truly. And I brag about this area. But how do you deal with bringing these programs to an area where there's that scripture, and you have to deal with those persons who are from home who know you and may not be supported?
Prayer and work. That's just it. You just got to keep working, keep praying, keep working, because while you have many that will not support because they know you, that's what they said about Jesus. That's Joseph's son over there. I know who that is. He's not, you will have, some who know you, and truth of the matter is you haven't been perfect, so they might know different things about you or feel like they can judge you different ways, and they're not going to support this or they're not going to support that. That is, that's another thing that I said last night. We have graduates or we have high school students who did not graduate; they dropped out. But we don't want to focus. We don't want to focus on the negative. We just focus on the positive. Dad told me one thing whenever I left and went to college. and he told me, he said, now, what you need to do is you need to do everything that you can. Do your best. Do everything that you can. And everything that you can't do, God will do.
Wow.
And that's what I believe. So everything that I can do, I'm going to do it. And if people support, they support. If they don't, they don't. I can't worry about that. And I'll let God deal with that. I'll just do what I do.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking with Mr. Martin Luther Wardlaw, Sr. We're talking about his new program, or his program that's been in existence now for 4 years, Reil Worldwide. And you've got a gala coming up, and we want to talk about that right after the break. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us. This is good stuff, and we'll talk to you right after these messages.
Smarter, not harder. Here at Vidalia Federal, we are all about that phrase as we strive to make your life easier. No more drowning in paperwork or being interrogated over the idea of buying a house. Getting a home loan should be an enjoyable, simple process, not a daunting task. This is Julia McKenzie with Vidalia Federal Savings Bank, and I am here to make the mortgage process easy and simple. Come see me at the Vidalia branch on Jackson Street to talk about your next home purchase or refinance. I look forward to serving you. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas. This is Anthony J. with Todd Paget Housing Center. And no, I'm not Santa, but we sure are slaying the competition over here in Claxton, Georgia. We build our manufactured homes more energy efficient, better built, and have the best setup than anyone else. Whether you've been naughty or nice, come by and we'll be glad to show you the Todd Paget Housing Center difference. Jingle us at 912-732-1466 or stop your sleigh at 5260 Highway 280 West in Claxton, Georgia. Todd Paget Housing Center. All of your housing solutions under one roof.
Welcome back to this edition of Community Matters. I'm your host, the Doc. And again, it's a beautiful Wednesday morning. I walked in and Dave Allen was behind the boards. And what a beautiful morning it is. We have in the studio with us a person who I know fairly well, Mr. Martin Luther Wardlaw, Sr. He is the executive director for the Reil Worldwide. You have a board?
Yes.
And can you tell us about your board members?
Well, we have a national board. Reil Worldwide is a national program. So we have a national board. President is in Atlanta. Axel Adams, and vice president, is also in Atlanta. So Brenda Easton, we have a secretary in Trudy Grant, and we have our chaplain is Pastor Tony Loudon, who was he worked closely in the White House, Department of Justice. Axel worked throughout the United States of America. Here locally, we lean on Michael Johnson from the Chamber and Victor Wolf, and that's who we have here locally. So we're working in that regard.
And Tony Loudon, I happen to know a little bit about him. He's actually spoken at Bruton Parker College a couple times, but he's also a pastor, and he pastors one prominent person.
Yeah, former President Jimmy Carter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the personal pastor over there. We spoke, Pastor Loudon and I spoke just last week, and he was telling me that he wanted us to come up and sing Amazing Grace for President Carter, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you for hitting me with that on the air.
Well, I was trying to figure out a way to where I could just do it myself.
Oh, okay. Oh boy. Well, last year we were there. We witnessed for the first time the Reil Worldwide Gala, where you brought people in from all over the nation, and I'd say it was somewhat of a success.
Oh, it was big time. I mean, it was a great success. You know, we had Quentin Aaron from people know him as Big Mike from The Blind Side speaking. We had Fred Stokes as a host, and we honored several people, and it was a beautiful night. Everybody had their tuxedos on, and the evening gowns and the red carpets, and we had some good food. So we're looking forward to it again this year.
Yeah, it was a nice event. I'd gone through one of those really in the urban areas, not locally. It was my first time really seeing anything like that. But I thought the food and everything was good, and the fellowship was more important.
Yeah, it really was. And you know, we're gearing up this year. We have, if anybody watched the show Good Times, and
with JJ and Thelma,
and if you watched Coming to America with Eddie
Dynamite.
Murphy.
Dynamite.
Yeah. And then if you watch Coming to America with Eddie Murphy, both 1 and 2, the father, Mr. McDowell, for the McDowells, and on Good Times he was James. He was the father. I think he became everybody's daddy. But he'll be here with us, Mr. John Amos. He'll be
John Amos.
He'll be
Wow.
the speaker. And then we're actually going to pull back from last year. Our host is Fred Stokes.
Okay.
Again, he's agreed to be here.
All right.
And
Excellent.
then we're going to reach back a little again to Quentin Aaron from Big Mike from The Blind Side. Is going to be back with us, but in this time with different capacity, because a lot of people don't know that he is also a singer.
Wow.
And he has released his first single to the world just this past Friday on the 23rd, and he's going to be singing that single at the gala. So that's going to be really nice.
Wow. And so the proceeds from this gala, they go to support Reil Worldwide?
Yes, they go to support the nonprofit and the work that we're doing throughout our, that it'll stay right here in this area throughout our counties that we serve. And we serve all of our counties: Toombs, Tatnall, Montgomery, Wheeler, Telfair, all the way up.
How many participants do you have in your program from this area?
From this area right here in Toombs County, I have 19.
Oh, wow. 19 people.
I have 19, and that's going to increase significantly by October. I don't know how many will come to Reil, but I know that there will be 104 individuals coming to the Toombs County area.
Oh, wow.
Before the end of the year.
That's a lot. Well, when we talk about the gala, how it's July the 27th.
July 27th.
Thursday.
That's a Thursday evening at the Vidalia Community Center. We have a VIP reception beginning at 5:30. Red carpet is going to be at 6:15-ish, and we're going to start promptly at 7 p.m. There will be no video errors. I got somebody coming in just specifically for that, outsourcing for video. So we're going to start promptly at 7, and we'll be there for about an hour and a half, and we'll be done.
You learn better, you do better. Huh?
Amen.
So we start at 7 o'clock, and looking for a good show. Yeah. And John Amos, is he going to speak?
Yes, he's going to be speaking. He's going to be a part of the VIP reception, and then he's going to be speaking.
So people will be able to get autographs and take
pictures. Take pictures, and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be great.
Wow. Last year we had Y101 was there.
On the red carpet, holding it down, Super Dave in his tuxedo.
Miss Dorothy Davis was there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful. Yeah. It was a beautiful. I really appreciate. One of the things that I like more than anything is the fact that the entire community center was full, all from the front all the way to the back. You know, we had over 400 people there, and it was black, white, brown. You know, everybody was there, and it was very, very powerful for those participants who were there to see that kind of support.
Wow.
And none of the gentlemen, who were there
Mm-hmm.
have gone back to prison. They've all continued to move forward. Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I think that, when you can wrap your arms, when a community can wrap their arms around something like that and people can see, they can see the support from everybody, it helps.
Do you care to share with us the persons who you're going to be awarding this year?
Oh, I'm excited about awarding the one and only Coach Anson Calloway.
Coach Calloway.
Very
Wow.
deserving, and he's worked in this area for years. He's touched so many lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the same story with Coach Wilbert Snell out of
Oh,
Mount Vernon,
wow.
Georgia. He coached, and back then they were more than coaches.
Yeah.
They went to your house. They saw something going on. They was telling mama. They paddle you and everything else, and they build. They were building children.
Mm-hmm.
So it reminds me of Coach Ray Fuller. He was just they just poured into a different way, and so we're honoring those two, and then we're honoring another young lady who has provided housing to those who are less fortunate for years. And Miss Frances Day, she's worked so hard to give people homes and help and having training center and things like that for them. And then we have Miss Debbie Griggers, who is who is a very hard worker, and she's very quiet and behind the scenes kind of worker that people just would not know that. It's kind of like a vehicle. You can have this beautiful, beautiful vehicle. It's got nice tires on it, got a great transmission, everything is good, but doesn't have an engine.
Oh, man.
Doesn't do you any good. Miss Debbie Griggers is that engine.
Wow. Wow. All right. Excellent. Excellent. So how much are the tickets?
So the tickets are $65 for the general admission, $85 for VIP. You can buy a table for $850, and then if you're doing couples tickets, there are different couple prices. Best thing you could do is just visit the website, and that's www.reilworldwide.org. That's REIL worldwide.org, and go to the Eventbrite site, and all of the ticket prices are there.
Okay. So general admission, $65.
Mm-hmm.
That gets you in the door, gets you a meal, and all of the festivities.
Right.
And more than anything, it allows you to donate to the cause.
That's right.
And then the VIP gives you red carpet treatment.
Give you red carpet treatment, and you get the VIP ticket. Show up at 5:30, anywhere between 5:30 and 6:15, and enjoy the VIP reception, meet and greet with the celebrities and that kind of thing. Go to the red carpet, and then move on into the event.
Okay, and then the tables. That's $850 per organization or group.
Right. If you have an organization, if you get a VIP table, then that gives you red carpet access.
So this is for your various groups, churches, organizations.
Exactly. And our sponsors, and we thank God for them.
And this is year 2.
This is year number 2, and we're very grateful.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, again, that website is www.reilworldwide, Reil, REIL, worldwide.org.
That's correct.
How do you do it? How do you do this? That's the question we'll close with. You've got so many hats. It's like we read in the article. I mean, you're a member of the Wardlaw Brothers, and I happen to know how busy that keeps you because I'm often standing right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have a restaurant. You've got managing a record label with artists and singers.
Mm-hmm.
And now also a nonprofit.
Yep.
When do you have children?
Yes.
When do you sleep, bro?
Oh man, I sleep. I spend time with children. I eat. I got a great executive assistant in Damian Thrower. I have I got a good team around me. If I call, I just I delegate and do what I need to do. But keep a schedule. I put God first, and everything else falls in line.
Yeah. Not to mention you are the music minister at the First African Baptist Church here in Vidalia, Georgia as well.
Yep.
So busy guy. So for all of the people who are out there who have trouble getting up in the morning, here's an example of a man who keeps it moving. And I happen to know because it's hard for me to keep up with it.
Oh, my goodness. Whatever.
So,
Whatever.
but good. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh,
and thank you for
happy to
all
be
that
here.
you do. Certainly, this program is a worthwhile program, as several of our other organizations in the area. If someone wanted to get in contact with you for you to help their persons who are returning, or they may know some children who are in the area who need some support, how would they go about that?
Yeah, so that's another thing. Just going to the website, and the contact information is on the website, or just call me direct. I used to be like, well, let me try to buffer my cell phone number and don't give it out and all this. And I'm not like that anymore. I just rather be available. So just give me a call, 912-585-7465, or visit the website, www.reilworldwide.org, and there's a contact form on there to make a request and referrals.
All right. Again, thank you so much for all you do to help make our community better. This has been Community Matters. As always, we thank our sir. This morning, we're so happy to have in the studio with us, helping and producing the show, Mr. Dave Allen. Also, we're so grateful and thankful for Miss Dorothy Davis. Please go to our website, tcbbroadcasting.com, tcbbroadcasting.com, and you can see this interview archived there on our website, and you actually get to see Mr. Wardlaw with all of his gray hairs coming in his head, looking, of course he doesn't look as good as his big brother.
It never stops.
You got to take a jab. I mean, we wouldn't be brothers if you didn't.
It never stops.
And so we're just grateful to have you with us. Come back again on next week. We'll be here with another great show for you. And let us continue to stay in prayer for our great community. I'm your host, The Doc. See you next time. God bless.
You've been listening to Community Matters with host Tony Doc Wardlaw, sponsored by Todd Paget Housing Center in Claxton and by Vidalia Federal in Lyons and Vidalia. Tune in again next week to see what is happening in our community on Community Matters, a service of TCB Broadcasting.